Hey everybody, welcome back to Plum Figgy. This is Tammy. As promised, here we have a tutorial on how I did the tab binding on the tab binding junk journals that I just recently put up for sale in my Etsy shop. So for anyone who hasn't seen the flip through of them yet, this is the only one I have left. I will make more, so don't worry about that. This is the only one I have left right now though, so I'll kind of quickly show you what the whole tab binding is and just kind of talk a little bit more about it. First off though, I want to say this is definitely not my idea. I'm not the original person to come up with this tab binding. I haven't seen it actually, but I hear that Dina Wakely, and I don't know if she's the original idea person for it, but she did a Facebook Live, I guess probably a month or month and a half ago now, and where she was explaining how to do that. So you may be able to find that. Where I came across it was I saw, I think first I saw Barbara from 49 Dragonflies. If you don't know her channel, definitely go look her up. She's got an excellent channel. She's in Austria, in Vienna, Austria, and I've been there. So I'm like, every time I watch her videos, I'm like, oh, I know where you live. Well, not literally, well. Obviously, I don't know literally where she lives, but I visited the city where she lives in one time in my life. I was lucky enough to go. But so anyway, she has a great channel. She does really awesome journals and junk journaling with me videos. I love watching her videos. And then also, I know I've seen other junk journal YouTubers doing them. Gail Agostinelli is another one that I believe she did one or did a portion of one. Anyway, I haven't yet seen anyone else do one with an actual signature inside. Oh, Wendy's Journal Adventures is the other one. Go check her out too. She did a really good job. I'd say hers kind of got my gears going on what other possibilities could be done with this type of binding. Sorry, I'm very uncomfortable. I apologize. My chair is loud and I still haven't fixed it. Okay, so enough talking. Basically what you have is, instead of a typical signature, and let me pull this out. This is the signature I'm going to be using for our purposes today. Typically you have a signature where your papers wrap around, right? And then you sew, do a pamphlet stitch or some type of stitch to stitch them all together. Well, in this particular binding method, we have individual cards like this, and we're going to bind them together just as they are, not being folded, whatever, in any way, shape, or form. So we have tabs that function as our binding method rather than the pamphlet stitch. So we'll just do a quick flip through of this again. So here you can see I've used an envelope. I'll talk more about how I did this, but, well, actually I can show it to you now since it's obviously right here. So it's not tall enough to be, the tabs weren't going to hit all of the envelope. So what I did was cut a little strip of this paper and sewed the envelope to that, and then I used this to bind it with. Here's the junk journal part. So this is basically what I just showed you, just it's a little bit more decorated, and that is one of our pages of our little book. So, and then the rest of it is another journaling card. Here we have another cloth envelope. Again, it's too short, so I had to cut a strip of the paper journaling card to be the right height. And then the back page is yet another journaling card. So here is the end product. Let me show you a couple of other more simple ways that I've done these. And actually I did these before I did this other more complicated one. So if you're going to try this, I would suggest trying it with one thing you have to keep in mind is you have to have an even number of pages, no matter what you do. So this one happens to just have four of these pages, right? So, and here you saw on this one, I used all the same fabric for the tabs. You don't have to do that. This one has all different fabrics. I was trying to use up all my scraps, obviously. The pages are comprised of scraps, and same with the tabs. And actually, I think it makes it look really interesting. So another really quick flip through this one again. Okay, so here's a good example. I think I did this one before the other one, but as you can see, there's more of a gap between the pages on this one than say this one. Well, maybe not as much of this one, but for sure between this one. So, well, I'm making a liar out of myself. That is something you might want to keep in mind. I don't know that I would go too much more than this, but I do like having a little bit of play here, because if you wanted to do some 3D elements or something on decorating these pages, you would have more room. And then the other thing I really like is, obviously these are sitting perfectly flat. Well, I mean, as flat as they can be. And you're more easily able to write on these pages if that's what you wanted to do. So another example there, one thing I would note is these all have basically the same width of page. Like this one's a little bit wider, but this one, they're all basically the same width. I guess the two skinnier ones are in the middle on this one. So another thing you might have noticed from the first example and this one, we've got different widths of pages, and that is another thing I love about this binding method. It doesn't matter how wide the pages are. Really, you're going to probably want to pay attention to the height, and even that you can kind of get away with not having the exact same height on everything too. It's a very forgiving, very fast way to put together a little journal. Or at least to bind one. So here is another example. This one I used upholstery fabric, and it's a little bit thicker. I don't know that I would go much thicker than this, just because it will start to kind of get in your way if you're trying to write on here, or it just kind of makes it thicker. The binding, you guys, I haven't had any coffee yet this morning. It makes the spine thicker. That's the word I was looking for. Oh my gosh, it's a struggle, you guys. So here's a quick flip through of this one, and I guess one more. So pretty much the same sort of thing. I guess this is in this one I used a little bit more decorative papers. Like these are from an old book, a vintage book. I've got some, this is from an old farm ledger. This is from an antique magazine from the 1890s, from a book, probably a Reader's Digest book. I just liked the artwork. So anyway, from the magazine from the 1890s, along with scrapbook paper. So you can see, you can really kind of do a lot of different things, not just with the pages, not just with the binding, but with the pages also. And this is a tip that I got from Gail Agostinelli. She was doing the decorated side on one side, and then she used like graph paper or writing papers on the other side so that you could use that side to write on. And then this way you could, you could still write on this, but then you could maybe decorate over here and write a little bit there or something. But anyway, if you want to stay tuned, at the end of this showing you how to actually do the tab binding, I will include kind of a how-to of how I did these pages. And then at the very end, if it might happen, I have a very curious kitty at the moment. She likes to play after she eats every morning, and we're at that time right now. So she's taken to just jumping up on my craft table and taking over. So if that happens, I apologize. I'll stop and restart. But yeah, she's hunting for something to get into at the moment. So we'll be prepared. But okay. So what I've got here are my blank pages ready for, and I've messed up the order now, but these are just blank paper or pages. They're thick. What this is in between the scrapbook papers and decorative papers is I have a lot of paper bags from the grocery store, so I've just been using those as much as I possibly can because I hate to throw them away. I mean, I use them for trash too, but so they've been really helpful for base papers on this type of thing. So the other thing I do is, and let me try and find, okay, so this one, well, these have all been sewn around the outside perimeter, and I do that before I do any of the bindings. Just, you're not going to be able to do it another time. And then I also try to ink around the edges. It's kind of hard to see on this one, and I normally would do them all, and I didn't do it this time, but I like to do this method. It's a little bit faster. It's a little cleaner, but then sometimes you get things like that where it kind of feathers just a little bit on the edge, and I like the look of that. So let me just quickly finish this, and then we will finally get into showing you how I actually do the tab binding. Well, maybe. Okay, so what I did in preparation for this journal is I've decided that I want this to be my cover and I want this to be my back cover, and I've made sure that those two are the same height. So those for sure are going to be part of this journal. And then as you can see, I've got 3 others here that are different widths, and I've got my signature. So pretty much what I'm going to do, oh, and then over here I have this extra sheet from my really long sheet of my scratch, because this is obviously a bit short, and I think I might do what I showed you on the other one, where I'll cut this and turn that into, help that be part of the page. But before we even do all that, well, I guess not before, it could be at any point, I need to make sure I have an even number of pages or elements that are going to be part of this journal. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to put this, well, where do we want we'll put that there. Okay, so let's count again. I think I have 6, but 1, 2, 3, 4, this counts as 1, 5, and 6. And then because I want this to be on the outside, I'm just flipping this so that we'll have 2 writing pages. Okay, so I'm gonna just set this over here off to the side, and the other important thing that we need is our fabric tabs. So these are some scraps that I have from a previous project that I just finished and will soon be posted. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do as even of tabs as I can get. It'll just help, especially if you're first starting doing this. Probably want to try and keep your tabs as even as possible. Before I know how many I need, I'm going to wait to cut this one up, because if I don't need tabs, I'll use those for something else. But actually I will have to. So okay, so we've got our fabric tabs, and like I said, you can have a mixture of different fabrics. I've even used sari silk for my tabs. It's a little thin, but you know what, the way that I finish mine, it is with sewing, so they're sturdy, they're not going anywhere. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I want to find the center of the height. So I'm going to get out my Tim Holtz centering ruler. You don't have to have a centering ruler, it just makes things so much easier. Alright, so there's Here's my center, so I'm just going to mark that. Light enough that it won't show through the fabric, but dark enough that I can still see it. Excuse me, I'm going to get a drink of water here. Okay, now I want to line this up along a straight edge on this edge here. That's just going to help me keep my tabs kind of centered, or, you know, square up my tabs, I guess. And then I'm going to start with the center tab here. And I've seen different numbers of tabs. I like to do 3 on the first page, 2 on the second page, 3 on the next page, and alternate 3, 2, 3, 2. So that's why I wanted to center this first one, and I'm going to go ahead and just glue that down. Now, if you're not sewing these after you're all done, don't use a glue stick, please, because it's not going to last. You need to use something like this, Fabri-Tac. Currently, it's so hot in my room, and this is kind of running on empty. This thing's like super gloopy at the moment, so I'm just going to tack these down right now with my Yoo-Hoo glue stick. And like I said, I'm going to be coming back and sewing again anyway. So, all right, we've got our middle one. Now I want to get our other two kind of lined up where we might want them, and I'm paying attention to the amount of distance between the top of my tab and the top of my page, and I kind of want to keep that equal as much as I can. But then, oh jeez, my ceiling fan, it's just blowing things everywhere. Just set that right there. So the other thing I want to kind of think of on this first one, and I only do this on the first one, is I have to make sure that I have room for the other two, for the next page, the 2 tabs that I'm going to put on those. So here you can see it's a little bit squishy. So I maybe this isn't very centered. Well, it is what it is now. That's called being handmade. So as you can see, what I don't want to have happen is this, right? I want to make sure that it's okay that they butt up to each other, but I don't want them to overlap, okay? So, and you know what I could do is just take off some of the width. They don't need to be this wide, and maybe that'll just help. All right. So we'll have a few different sizes. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stick this one up here and that one there, and then I'm just gonna pull these 2 away because we're done with that now, and tack this down with some glue. Make sure I've still got enough room. Yep, plenty of room. I'm not gonna put that small one on the front. We can hide that one more in the middle somewhere, and we'll put this one here, and we don't need that to be quite that wide either. Okay, and then I like the roughed up edges, so I'll go ahead and do that. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so let me get rid of all my trash here. So we have our first page done. Gosh, that took a while, didn't it? Okay, now when you're done with that, all you're gonna do is flip that over, and you may want to line up against a line again. It may help you. Okay, so here is my short page, right? And as you can see, even though we're going to put 2 on this front, we're gonna flip this over, and then I need to wrap these around and glue these to the back side of this one. But obviously that's not gonna work. That's not gonna hold on to anything. So this is where we come to what I did here, that I showed you, where I did another strip and I just sewed it to that. You don't have to sew it. You could glue it. I probably did both, if you honestly. But that helps you get your height. So I'm going to go ahead and do that really quick. I'll pause and I'll be right back with that. So we are ready to now keep going. So let me just reiterate what we've done. So we've got 3 on the front. The next one is going to have 2 on the front. So flip that over. Now we're ready to put 2 on the front. I like to kind of lay it like this at first because I can visually see behind there where my tabs are. And then I just want to... sorry. And I need to pull this down. I apologize. I moved my camera and I don't know where center is anymore. Okay, so it's easier for me too because I don't have to reach as far. All right, so what I'm going to do is just, again, lay out where I want my 2 tabs to be. And I'm just making sure that they're staying in the middle and not overlapping with the 3 that we just did. And I'll go ahead and just tack this down with my glue. And also, you don't really have to lay it out because obviously you can see where your gap is going to be. But, you know, when you're beginning to do something different or new, it's always nice to kind of take it a little bit slower and just make sure that you know how you're doing it and don't make a mistake, right? Okay, so now we're going to turn that over and I'm going to line up my height. Oh, we're gonna have a kitty cat in just a second. Just you wait. Okay, so these are the 2 that I just did. And then these are the 3 that I originally did on the front cover. What we need to do is wrap the 3 that we first did around and attach those to the back of our second page. Now, here you saw I did not go completely flush with the fabric. I made sure to keep just a little bit of a gap, and I can show you that. So that's what that'll look like. It doesn't take too much, but a little bit is really helpful. Okay, so there's our first one. I'm just going to go up here and do this top one. Trying to keep it straight. Trying not to pull it off. Okay, don't do this one, don't do that one. We're going to come down here and tack this bottom one down. And obviously, like I said, if I was not sewing this after we're all done, I would definitely do a much better job of gluing these down. But I just need to tack them for right now. Okay, so there's page number 2. So now we have 2 tabs hanging out. Let's lay down our next one. Okay, so this one again is a little bit short, but oh, here we go, kitty cat. Okay, you need to get down. I know. I know you want to. Yeah. Okay, sorry about that. Where was I? It was shorter for you than it was for me. Okay, so what we have here is another kind of short page, right? In height. So, but as I'm lining this up, I can see not most of the tab is going to hit the card. So this one's not so bad. This one was just too short. So I needed to do that in order to fix it. Okay, so we did 3 on the first page, then 2, and now we need to do 3 again on this page. And again, I'm just kind of lining this up, and I'm going to line it up and use these tabs as my guide on where the new ones are going to go. So let me put this one down first in the middle. This one's awfully large tab. That's okay. All right, and then this one, as much of that as I can get up there, and glue that one down, and then again as much of this one as I can get down here. Okay, so we've got our 3 tabs glued down. We're going to turn that over. I'm going to line this up so that I have gaps. Actually, I can go a little bit more up. And then we're going to wrap our 2 tabs over the back like we just did with the other one. So gluing that one down. See, I almost did that. That was the wrong one. You know what? Oh, I do have cat hair in there. Jeez, cat. I swear. My life is just cleaning off cat hair from things. Okay. And probably up too far. All right, so let me finish gluing that. Nice thing about this glue stick is it dries clear. So even though you can see through the blue right now, at the end of it, you won't. All right, so I've used up all my tabs. I need to make some more. I prefer doing them as I go rather than all of them at one time. Just makes things a little bit easier, I've found. More cat hair. All right. I'm gonna make these just a little bit less, and I'm gonna cut these like that. All right. So we've got probably enough to finish now. Okay, so now I'm at the point where I'm ready to add my signature, and I'm just gonna line this up vertically. And I already showed you I've done a pamphlet stitch on this, so this is actually sewn together already. So if you're doing one with a signature inside, you know, sorry, I just double check because I'm like, did I really glue that down? Yes, that's secure. Okay. if you're doing one like this where you're putting a signature in as one of your pages, then it definitely needs to be bound together in some other form or fashion, because just these tabs obviously are not going to keep all of your pages together. So all right, so, and I have to do this every time because I'm so forgetful. So we did 3, 2, 3, and then now this one will have 2, and I want to, and another good trick that I've found is to keep yourself from forgetting the number of tabs you need. The number of tabs that you just pulled over and glued to the back side is the number of tabs you need on the next one. So that's another way to kind of keep yourself straight. And then again, I'm going to line that up with, you know what? I need a sturdier cover for this. right, let's get back to where we were. So we've got 3 on the front, and then 2, and then 3 here, and then now this will be 2 tabs. So I want to make sure I can still see these, and I'm going to try and line this up height-wise because it is the same height. I didn't really plan it that way, but it happened to become that way, which was awesome. All right, so these are a little bit smaller. I'm going to keep those for the next ones. So pretty much all you got to do is the same thing that we've already done. I'm just going to tack down these fabric tabs like we've just been doing. So I'm going to put this one here and this one here, and then just flip this over. All right, so now we can see my 5 tabs, and it's pretty well evened out, but this one's overlapping just a tiny bit. So there we go, pull that down. Okay, so we added these 2, so now we need to flip these 3 over. And because this is a signature and it's a little bit thicker, and I want to be able to lay it flat and write in it, I'm going to add just a little more room here. I don't want it to be flush, and I'm giving it just an extra bit more room than I did on the others, just to give it some more area to open. Okay, so we've got those 3 down. Now we're back to our note cards, and the signature on the front cover I did 2, and if we're using our little trick, we just glued back 3, so I'm going to add 3 to the cover of this one, and yet again I'm going to use the 3 that I just glued as my guide. Add a little bit of glue and reline this up here. Get 3 of my tabs, fabric tabs. Okay, got those down. Flip that over, line it back up along this edge, and we're going to flip these 2 over. So let's add some glue. And again, I'm going to give it a little bit more room than I normally would have if I was just using skinny pages. But I'm trying to accommodate for that signature in there. So I did give it a little bit more room because I do want it to eventually lay flat. And then now we're at our last page, but instead of gluing them here, because remember when we flip it over, we always have to close it off on the back side. Well, we don't want to have 2 tabs sticking out, so what we're going to do is we're just going to lay our last page down on top and line it up again, and then we're just going to glue these 3 that were still hanging out down. Just like so. And if you are not planning on doing any sewing, you're done. That's it. That's the tab binding method. I will show you what I've done to try and keep things just a little bit more snug and secure. I do see that this is kind of playing around a lot. I don't know what's going on there. I'm going to make this one a little bit tighter. That's one benefit of using glue stick. Wait a minute. I see what the problem is. Okay. Need to get this more over. Wasn't secured well enough. And then this one. This is the first time this has happened to me. So you're gonna see in real time how to fix it. Okay, that was easy. That was an easy fix. Okay, so like I was just saying, this is just fine if you use a strong glue. I'm gonna snug this up a little bit more too. There we go. But what I want to do is add a little bit more security to mine. So let me grab just this one that's in front of me. I don't know if you can see here, but I've got a zigzag stitch. This is at this point in the game, this is when I've added that. And basically all I've done is I opened it, and then this went into the sewing machine, and the needle is right here, and I'm just sewing a zigzag straight stitch down, and I'm capturing each of these tabs. That one's done. Flip it over, pull the next one. So now I'm grabbing all 5 because this one has some on the front and some on the back. Flipping that over when I'm done sewing, and sewing this one. Keep going. And then this is the last page. Sew this one down, and you're grabbing the 3 on the back side. So that's what I've done to kind of finish it. It's a little bit trickier when you have a signature like this, and like I said, this one is a little bit unruly at the moment because it needs to just calm down a little bit. But it's a little trickier. So let me show you on this one kind of what I did. So again, here's my first page. So I opened it like this so that all the rest of the pages are off to the left side of your sewing machine, and this is now what's going through your sewing machine. Flipping that over when I'm done, and then this is the next page, sewing that. And then now we're at the cover of the signature. So all I'm doing is opening the cover, and then the rest of that is on the left. And I'm being very careful. I'm not going super close to the very end, but I want to make sure and get all of the tabs. So here you can see the back side of that. So when we're done with that one, I'm going to close the signature and get to the back page of the signature, which is right here. And we're going to open it like this, turn it upside down, and then I sewed like that. Okay, so it's a little bit fidgetier. Now that's done. Here's my cover. So I've got all of this kind of looped back to the back side, and then now I'm ready for the next page. Just kind of doing the same thing. So flip it over, sew, and then that's the back page, and you're all done. So, and that is another kind of reason why I like having just a little bit of extra give in between on the tabs. Alright guys, so that is how you do the tab binding. Hope you enjoyed this little tutorial, and like I said, if you want to stay tuned and see how I kind of put together these pages, I will have a quick walkthrough of that. I don't know how much talking I'll do, but it's pretty self-explanatory. And then, as promised, if you're a kitty person and you want to see some kitty bloopers, I have some of that at the end too, because she just is a little bit of a steam truck sometimes. She comes in and she wants all of the attention. So, all right, guys. Hope you are all I try not to let things like that get into these videos because I want to keep it uplifted and positive. But just let's end it like this. Just praying for everybody. It's a really tough time right now. So, all right, guys. Just everybody stay safe and make smart choices and fight for what you believe in and vote because this is scary. So, all right, guys. Okay, I'm getting control of myself now. Okay. Yeah, get out and vote. That's the most important thing we can do, and make some real positive change for our country because we really, really need it. So, okay, guys, I'll see you all soon. Bye. All right, everybody. So, as you can see, my base layer is an actual paper bag from the grocery store. So all I do is make a cut on the end, and I cut off one end and the bottom, and that I use as another base layer. But basically what my intention is to open the bag so it's laying flat, okay? And then here you can see I'm just randomly, and well, maybe not so randomly, but I'm just choosing bits of paper from my scrap pile. I have a couple boxes, shoe boxes that I like to keep my scraps in, and using those, I'm just basically mindlessly trying to be mindless about it as much as I can, and pasting things down, because this is not a process you really want to be obsessing over. And there's the cat again. And so that was the front side, the more decorative side. Now I'm on the back side. All I did was flip it over. I do have a top and bottom, so I'm making sure to kind of keep that in mind. But honestly, you don't need to even do it that way if you don't want to. It can be completely random. It's really up to you. This is from a paper pad from, I want to say, DCWV, Die Cuts with a View. I think it's called their Everyday Essentials or something like that. It has some matte papers and these graph and line papers. So I just pulled out a bunch of those, and then here I've got extra scraps from like tea dyeing and other just blank scraps. So I kind of combined the two, and I like putting those on the other side so that you can use that side to write on. So again, all I'm doing is kind of tearing off a strip or a piece of paper and then filling in from there, really trying not to think too hard about it, other than keeping all of my lined paper going the right direction. So really that's all there is to it. And I guess kind of also trying to find papers that are varying in color, because these do have kind of a color to them. So yeah, I'm just on the back side, I do tend to use bigger pieces. The back side tends to go a lot faster, but I'll just keep going until I fill up my paper. All right, so now this is a very large sheet of paper, as you can imagine. It's the size of a grocery bag. So before I can use my paper trimmer, I have to make it a smaller piece. So that's what I've done there. And I typically just I measure my large piece and try to decide how many pieces I can get from that, and kind of randomly cut. All right, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this, and now for some kitty.
And especially your awkward ones. Thanks for sharing your cute kids and your adorable pets. Now it's our turn to share with the Geico gift card. A 15% credit on car and motorcycle policies for both current and new customers.
That's not a toy.
Let it last your full policy term. So thanks again. One good share deserves another. bunk beds are number 2, 3, and 6. Please make yourself at home.
Well, the thing is, well, stuff happens.
Hey,
Tough with strong ingredients.
what are you doing?
Go about refueling. When I say so, I'm very careful. The noise. Are you drawn to it?
Yes.
Sound draws it. Body shots only seem to slow him down. Headshots.
You're kind of annoying. Hmm?
tend to burn him when you
Did
can.
you know that? That you're kind of annoying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Billy, you
Goofy butt.
know,
Where about you St. Louis?
Wanna look up here? Oh.
guys, I'll be honest with you. I don't know of any place back home that's been very well.
Yeah.
The other guy was a virologist. What do you
Oh, that's my
There's
finger.
a memo sent from this installation 11 days ago. It had the word zombie in it. Do you know anything about it? Yeah. It was an email, not a memo.